And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Well, tomorrow we have the system here from Bristol Bay tracking eastward to near Kodiak Island, front hanging up along the North Gulf Coast with rain continuing Cook Inlet eastward right into the Panhandle, showers over the central interior, dry in the west here, and some snow for the Brooks Range out to the central eastern Arctic coast across the North Slope. A break here, just a couple of weak systems out west there that Thursday bring a little bit of light rain into areas of the Aleutians, otherwise light winds with some showers over the northern Bering Sea. And this slow-moving system slowly weakening, the front stuck along the North Gulf Coast, dragging across the Panhandle, keeping it wet there all the way back again in toward Cook Inlet. Becoming a little more showery and starting to taper off in the afternoon. Showers over the eastern interior, some sun breaks in the west and central part of the state, mixed precipitation for the North Slope and the Arctic coast. And for tomorrow, we've got pretty gusty southeast winds here for the coast, anywhere from 25 to 35 miles an hour, with seas up to 13 feet. Gale warnings on the north coast there, east at 35 knots. Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, Stevens Passage, Clarence Strait, southeast winds 20 knots, seas 3 to 4 feet. And for Thursday, winds south 15 to 20 knots on the south coast, and winds east to southeast 20 to 25 for the north coast, with seas 11 feet. Lynn Canal and Stevens Passage, southeast at 15, southeast 20 for Clarence Strait. And we've got gale warnings for the eastern North Gulf Coast tomorrow. Southeast winds 30 to 40 knots, seas up to 13 feet. Prince William Sound, good small craft advisories, southeast 30 knots, seas 7 feet. Cook Inlet, small craft advisories. Kamishak Bay as well for northeast winds 25 to 30 knots, seas 6 to 9 feet. And for the Barren Islands, east winds 20 knots, seas 8 feet. For Thursday, Prince William Sound, those winds come down to 20 knots, seas subside to 4 feet. And with the wind direction out of the east, small craft advisories for the eastern North Gulf Coast, southeast 25 knots. Much lighter here for the western coast, north at 15 knots. And now northwest winds 30 knots for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, and Cook Inlet, north winds at 15 knots with seas 3 to 4 feet. Kodiak Island, northeast to southeast winds there, depending on which side of the island you're on, at 20 knots with seas 5 to 11 feet. Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 30 to 45 knots, and seas running anywhere from 5 to 6 feet on the Pacific side of the peninsula to as high as 14 feet on the Bering Sea side. Bristol Bay, north winds 30 knots, seas 7 feet. Kodiak Island for Thursday, northwest 25 to 30 or 20 to 25 knots. And for Bristol Bay, northwest 25 knots. Alaska Peninsula, west-northwest winds 25 to 30 knots. And for the eastern Aleutians, we've got gale warnings there on the south side on Alaska Island tomorrow, northwest 35 knots. Otherwise, northwest winds 20 to 30 knots. 20 to 30 knot northwest winds for Adak and Atka, swing around to the east at 20 knots, southeast at 20 from Chitka Island, and then northeast to southeast winds at 20 knots for the western Aleutians. And for Thursday, for the western Aleutians, west of Adak, west-southwesterlies at 20 knots, southwest at 20 here for Adak and Atka, all the way over to Unimak Island, and south-southwest 15 to 20 knots there for Unalaska Island. And for the southwest coast, gale warnings for the Kuskokwim Delta coast tomorrow. North winds continue to blow at 35 knots, north at 25 for the Purbloff, seas 10 feet there. St. Matthew Island, westerlies at 25 knots, and 25 knot north winds for the Yukon Delta coast on up across St. Lawrence Island, and about 20 knots from the north for Norton Sound. For Thursday, Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island, northwest at 20 knots, northwest at 15 there for the Yukon Delta coast, and northwest 25 for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. Pribilof Islands, light south winds at about 15 knots, winds light and variable for St. Matthew Island. Central or the Arctic coast all the way here for the west side to the east, northeast winds tomorrow 20 knots, seas 4 feet. Chukchi Sea, north winds 20 knots, seas 4 to 5 feet. And for the day on Thursday, winds pick up here on the central coastal areas out of the northeast at 25 knots. So small craft advisories coming into the picture with seas running 5 to 7 feet. And for the Chukchi Sea, north winds at 20 knots with 4 to 5 foot seas.